Hey guys, what's going on? Massive Beats here. Brainworx Masterdesk PRO by Plugin Alliance. They've been talking about a more comprehensive mastering tool for quite some time. And they've had the Masterdesk Classic, the Masterdesk, and then the Masterdesk True Peak. And then they had have the True Peak limiter, and so now this all seems to be rolled into one. Unfortunately, these are not updates or upgrades or anything from an existing version. There are some discounts, but you have to still buy it. It's one of the things that I don't like in the industry, releasing plugins very quickly and then never really updating them and improving on features. So it's not like in the software industry where like you have, I don't know, GarageBand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you get better and better and better with every iteration, or Pro Tools or Logic Pro, whatever. But it stays the same product in a way. It just gets better. But that's a whole different discussion. Just something I'd like to hear from you about in the comments. We'll review this here, and all the politics aside, that's a different decision. What do I know how the metrics of software companies look like these days to stay afloat? So I'm not going to pick a fight on that. Anyways, so this is quite interesting because let me take one step back. I'm going to point out the negatives and I'm going to point out the positives. And as long as there are a good amount of positives, I'm typically fine. As long as there are no deal breakers. Nothing has to be perfect. It can be good and usable, and that's something. So if you hear me say, I wish it had this, and oh, why doesn't it do this? Don't feel like this is a no-buy advice. Far from it. So I kind of like this plugin. Let me start with that. I do like the features. Right off the bat, I can tell you, I see no auto gain. Don't like that. And I don't see delta for overall. I see a delta here and there from different modules, but it seems like the other modules were just like slapped in there. So different codes from different plugins were like kind of put together. And that's okay. You can build a better version with things that you already have. Volume is number one. Number two is the foundation. And then number three is the tone. And that was the same thing in the original Masterdesk. Volume, foundation, and tone. And that's totally fine by me. But so my question is, where does this fit in here? The compressor, the limiter, the de-esser, the tone, the mid-side, the resonant filters, equalizers. So it definitely doesn't go left to right, top down, because we're not ending with the high pass and low pass filters. That's not what's happening. We're ending here with the limiter. That's where we're ending. So everything ends up here in the limiter. And I believe it is compressor. I think tone goes into compressor. And then from there, it goes into the clipper. And then the clipper, we're driving into the clipper, and then from the clipper, we go into the limiter. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I did this a couple of days ago when playing with it. And I'm not sure who's first, tone or equalizer. Of course, the good thing is here, we all have these available. So what is the sort of new features and mastering essential features that we didn't have before? So one is a clipper. You can make things louder without actually them being louder. You just clip a little bit on the top. The XL and the THD. So yeah, now you have this XL feature that was borrowed from the limiter. And then you also have the THD feature, which was borrowed from, where are you, guy? From Masterdesk. It had this THD feature. And when we're going to do sound comparisons, you'll see they are exactly... not exactly, but very close to each other. I put them at the same level. Did I? 68, and the other one I did what? 67? Close enough. They all don't sound the same. I can tell you that. Then it has another, so the clip is good. That de-esser is something I really like. Check out the de-esser here. The de-esser gives you how much de-essing you want to do, and it gives you also which frequency you want to do. So if you have like harsh cymbals, let me stop this track here for a sec, and it brings out the de-esser here right away. We do it again. Right, there it is. Targeting those high frequencies, kind of like takes off the harshness here. And it does that in a very subtle way. So even if I go full gusto on it, it doesn't darken up the mix. That's good for a de-esser, but we don't have too many options here to be granular. On a pro version, I would like it to be, maybe have an expanded panel here to be more granular. All right. Okay. So what else? So we have resonance filters here. Check this out. The whistling, this whole thing is in what? This whole thing is in G, I guess. Yeah, it's in G. So that's about 190, all right? 192. So you can target these resonance frequencies in a broader way or in a narrower way. It's about all, and you cannot adjust how much, how deep this cut goes, but it's there. And you can catch these resonant frequencies. Keep in mind, once you sweep for that, everything sounds wonky. So you have to look for what sounds the most wonky, and then see if that really bothers you, if you or improves the mix when you take it out. Just sweeping for something randomly and taking it out, that makes no sense. We have this new mid side feature. So let's check this out here. Mono maker, let me take the mono maker down, and everything over. So this was on all this time. So you've been hearing a mix that was mono down to 300 hertz. I would not go that extreme, but we only boosted the width or turned up the sides by 7%. You can have the stereo enhancement. This is different flavors. Check this out. Check this out right here. And it doesn't tell us what it does exactly. It's targeting one, more the lower mid-range, then it targets a bit more the highs, the upper mids, and so forth. So these are the 4 different models. But nowhere does it say in the manual what that does and how it even works. Do we need to know necessarily? No. But I'd like to know them. So the manual doesn't tell you anything. No workflow, no flow chart, no diagram, nothing. So we have the typical tone controls, right? Here's the tone control. And here we go with the equalizer. So I have a feature here called now Auto Solo. I really like that. We didn't have any of that before in the previous versions. We don't have it in the regular Masterdesk. So I can see here frequency and can use that as a band XL, whatever, EQ. Right? So shelf and like a very gentle lift. And also have like a full parametric mids here. So this gets narrower, this gets wider here. More musical. And that works in combination with the tone. And then we have, forgot to mention this. So of course, number 1 drives this into the compressor, right? Forgive me if I didn't mention this. I kind of think we're here to discuss what's different from Masterdesk, from the regular Masterdesk, but most people are probably gonna be like, what the heck was the previous one? I don't have that. I'm looking at this product. So volume goes into the compressor here, and here we have the gain reduction. And at the same time, we have like a mix knob here. So this is a confusing gain reduction meter. How much does it reduce? We also don't have an attack, just a release. And the ratios are interesting, 3.2, 4.5, 6.2, and 7.9. Who came up with that? I got no idea. Then we have the glue. So if I drive this quite hard into the compressor, glue. And then you can have the relationship here. So you can play with this. The thing that I like about it is, well, it sounds good. This is a good sounding compressor. Don't go overboard with it. I just have to figure out how much this corresponds to in real life. For example, these controls here, they are plus minus 3 dB. And they just have like these weird values here, minus 30, plus 30 dB, right? They could just say dB, right? In fractions of dB. But here again, we are in dB. So why these two different metrics? What kind of metric is that? I think they took that also from Masterdesk and just rebranded it, where here you have the same thing, minus 30, plus 30. So just give me what it actually is in musical terms. If you know what that musical term is, minus 30, and don't say dB times 10, then let me know. And I suspect we have something similar here. This could be, just a few dB here, because that certainly doesn't look like minus, 15 dB or something like that. That seems to be very small and granular. Then here we have the XL feature. It also doesn't tell me what that is. 100%. Okay, percent of what? What's the maximum percent? 12 dB gain boost, or what? What is it, right? THD I also don't have. I have minus. I think those are dB. And then on the turbo limiter, especially turbo basically means we're driving the limiter, right? So we're driving the limiter into this, and that is up to 4 dB and minus 1 dB, right? So we have fairly conservative 5 dB range here, but at least here it's dB. The release is in milliseconds. The link is in percentage, that's fine. And then we have an output trim, and I did the output trim to kind of match this with the, basically output gain compensated. So we can compare a little bit. I did this very quickly, so it's not going to be exact, but somewhat. And that is the feature set. There it is. And then we have a dynamic range meter. We have balance correlation and a gain reduction of the limiter. So no gain reduction of the compressor right here. This could be built into here. But what they did is they used this display here. What they didn't do the color change. You cannot change the color here. So by the way, this is a very good limiter. It has a few features here that have, are tone controls that are EQ features, like high pass filter, foundation as well. And note, I said it exactly the same as here, so we can compare. Good. Why don't we compare a little bit? I'm going to run through that without talking. So I'm going to do 3 things. Stop the music for a sec. We're going to do 3 things. We're going to compare the Masterdesk, and then we're going to compare it with the Masterdesk here with very, very little compression, because I think there's a limiter here as well. I don't want to hit that limiter too hard, because I want to compare Masterdesk plus, I want to see this, I want to see that, plus true peak limiter, both of them together. See what that gives us as a comparison. And then I want to compare it with the Pulsar 8200 into an SSL bus compressor. So the traditional route, those are 3 plugins, into an L2. And now, keep in mind, right? There's like, oh, wow, 3 plugins versus 1. Yeah, but 3 plugins that I understand in series compared to 1, right? You can also, if you want, you can keep an eye on the CPU load. Why don't we add this CPU meter? We can keep an eye on that. How's that? Can we make it bigger? No. And then I'm going to compare the 8200, because we want a little bit of an EQ. And that we're going to run also into, we can try running this into the limiter. And we can also, actually, we're going to run it into this guy, a competitor. Haha. You can run into this guy who's got a compressor, a high frequency limiter, a clipper into a limiter. You can compare these and get an idea what the overall sound change is. Let's take a listen how these different combinations shape up. All right. I have talked a long time. I'm just going to do now. I'm going to close that mic and here we go. All right, guys, what are we thinking? I can tell you what I think. So this Masterdesk Pro definitely opens up the mix in a nice way. Not too harsh, not boxy, and not too aggressive, crazy, loud. I like it. At first, when looking into the combination of regular Masterdesk and then into the True Peak limiter, I did not like that. It sounded really boxy. At the very end, I just went with Masterdesk regular limiter, and I gotta say, this worked as long as I put the compressor link on, limiter into turbo, and then hitting it a little bit harder than I had before. The foundation, I had to, I guess, correct it a little bit. And the settings here, I could leave them equal, and I just took off the resonance filters. They really didn't do it for me. Mono maker at 103 and a little bit of a stereo enhancement. So and then I chose the TMT compressor mode 4. That worked, and I think by itself, you can still use that. You can use the regular combination. But what gave me the, leanest and kind of, leanest and smoothest results was the 8200, Pulse 8200, with a little bit of a de-esser engaged into the SSL bus compressor 2 into Fab Filter 2. That sounded really good. Gives me a lot of control, and it's actually something I know. I know that type of EQ. I know an SSL bus compressor, and I know the Fab Filter L2. So even though you have 3 plugins, it's not overly complicated. Let's just look at the CPU load really quick. So I didn't change the settings back on the Masterdesk, so that's why it sounds crazy bad going from the Masterdesk into the True Peak limiter. So what we also could do, we could do this combination, 8200 into the True Peak. Oh, that's way too much. Yeah, I think this kind of proves that they literally lifted this into the Masterdesk Pro. And with good reason. It's a really excellent, very forgiving limiter before it shows any artifacts. So I think we did all. I hope I didn't confuse you too much with all these combinations. In the beginning of the shootout, I did that on another window, so you don't see me messing with this, but you do see the windows pop up. Okay. So final thoughts on this. One thing I don't think, on this is an M1 Max laptop. I don't think it's a huge difference. The only difference I saw is, and I'm running in Rosetta. I'm not even running in Apple Silicon. When engaging this guy here, then I had a CPU jump. But that, keep in mind, that's 4 plugins as well internally. So I'm sure that has a higher footprint. I wanted to say the cleanest result is the 8200 into the TDR Tokyo Dawn Records Limiter 6 Gentleman's Edition. It's very, very nice. Which brings us back to you and your question. No, you didn't ask any questions. I made this video on my own. Should you buy this? Well, who should buy this? I think if you are cranking out demos, clips, things that, I don't know, jingles, commercial stuff, where you need quick and good levels with a bit of mastering, because let's be clear, what we just did here, that's not mastering. That's slapping plugins on a mix bus. We're trying to mix to improve the mix. That is not mastering, but it's not mastering. Mastering is a philosophy, it's a concept. It's to really listen and do whatever it takes to improve a mix and make it release ready. But sometimes we don't have that time. Sometimes that is not needed. Sometimes we want to get something out that's close to being very good. Sometimes we want to show a vision to the mastering engineer. It's like, hey, this is not my ref, but this is kind of what I have in mind. And remember, when I took off all these plugins, that mix sounded really different. That snare was hitting you over the head in a very, very annoying fashion. It also could be a good learning tool because you do learn a little bit about the mastering chain, because you got the resonance filters in there, you got a de-esser in there, you got a glue compressor, and you got a foundation, which is like a tilt EQ, and all of that in there. I just wish it would be labeled better in true dBs, uniform meters, and a delta, so people can learn and see what's being changed and what they're actually doing. This is still a little bit of the mystical mastering, where like mastering is sort of like a dark art, and we tweak a few knobs and automatically gets better. So auto gain and overall delta. So the delta for everything. Maybe also arranging the modules would be good. Changing the color would be good. I don't want to always see red. Sometimes I want to see blue. But it sounds very good. It also has saturation built in. I forgot to mention this because it's got all their plugins have saturation all the time, everywhere. So I don't even mention it anymore. But anyways, yes, it got saturation. 2 types. Should you buy it? Well, if you get a good deal on it, go for it. You can use this. You can use this. You can use it as a training tool, and you can use it to make your mixes be ready so you can show it to people. Or a lot of projects, quantity, push those out really quickly with something like this. But make no mistake, you still have to learn this. There's nothing automatic about this. For me, it's easier doing my traditional plugins because I know them. I know what's going on. It's very clear. This is a little bit more complicated, more complex, but it's all in one. Once you get the hang of this, really good, I think you can do great work, great results. So did Plugin Alliance do a good job? Yep, they wanted to do it like this. That was their vision. They put it out like that. Yes, it works. It's a good plugin, no question about it. Is it perfect for me? Nope. You heard my comments on it. And yeah, on that note, we keep telling plugin makers, please do auto gain. Please do something on that. Please make it, apples to apples and stuff. They're not doing that. I'm not going to get into this right now. Massive Beats out. Please like and subscribe and comment.